Patterns of population in India. Introduction. Population of India. The demographics of India are inclusive of the second most populous country in the world, with over 1.21 billion people according to the census of 2011. It accounts to more than a sixth of the world's population. In terms of area, India stands 7th, preceded by Russia, Canada, China, the United States of America, Brazil and Australia. Barring China, the total population of these large 5 countries is far less than that of India. Population of the world or of any country is not uniformly distributed. The same is true about India also. Some parts of the country are densely populated, some parts moderately populated, and some parts are sparsely populated. The density of population can be expressed as density equals total number of people of a country divided by total area of the country. In this lesson, we will examine the size of India's population in the world's context and study distribution and density of population and various factors influencing them. Analyze trends in population growth, their determinants and consequences. The objective of studying this lesson is to learn about physical factors responsible for uneven distribution of population, socio-economic factors responsible for uneven distribution of population, to analyze the population density at state level, interpret the data about distribution, density and growth of population, migrating and the factors affecting migration. Physical factors responsible for uneven distribution of population. As the spatial spread of population in India is not uniform, there are very wide regional variations. Let us discuss what factors are responsible for these variations. All such factors affecting the population distribution and density may broadly be grouped into 2 major categories. They are physical factors and socio-economic factors. Physical factors. Physical factors play a vital role in the density and distribution of population. Physical factors include landform, climate, soil, etc. Though there is a lot of improvement in technology, but the patterns of population distribution all over the world continues to reflect the influence of varied physical factors. Landforms. The most important attributes of landforms which determine population density and distribution are the altitude and slope. The most striking evidence of the influence of altitude and slope on population density and distribution have been observed between mountains and plains. For example, take the case of most densely populated Indo-Ganga plains on the one hand and a highly mountainous state of Arunachal Pradesh on the other. Other than this, factors like drainage and water table have also been affecting population distribution. Climate. It is one of the essential elements of the physical factors which influence the spatial distribution of population through temperature conditions and the amount of precipitation. Take the case of hot and dry deserts of Rajasthan and the cold and wet eastern Himalayan region where very low temperature and heavy precipitations prevail. This is the reason for uneven distribution and low density of population here. Almost even distribution and high density of population are found in plains of Kerala and West Bengal where rainfall is high. It is low in the regions of Rajasthan and leeward sides of Western Ghats. Soil. Soil is another factor which affects the density and distribution of population. People in villages earn their livelihood from agriculture, which depends upon the quality of soil. That is why alluvial region of northern plains and coastal and deltaic regions of India continue to support high densities of population. On the other hand, it may be worth mentioning that vast tracts of land in desert areas like Rajasthan, Rann of Kutch in Gujarat, Terai region in Uttarakhand have been suffering from problems like soil erosion and soil efflorescence, which support only low density of population. In any region, the density and distribution is influenced by more than one factor. Take for example, northeastern region of India. Here, several factors are responsible for low density of population. These factors are high rainfall, rough terrain, dense forests and poor quality of soil. Socio-economic factors responsible for uneven distribution of population. Socio-economic factors like physical factors, socio-economic factors also play an equally important role in density and distribution of population. However, there may not be a perfect agreement upon the relative importance of these two determinants. In certain places, physical factors play a vital role, whereas in some places, socio-economic factors have a greater impact. Various socio-economic factors which have impact upon the population are socio-cultural and political factors and exploitation of natural resources. Socio-cultural and political factors. Mumbai-Pune Industrial Complex is a good example to show how social, cultural, historical and political factors collectively have contributed to its rapid growth of population and its density. Less than 200 years ago, there were small insignificant islands of the Thana Creek on the western coast. The adventurous Portuguese seamen claimed these islands for their monarch. They in turn gifted these islands to the royal family of England by way of dowry. These couple of sleepy fishing village located on these islands could never guess that they would shortly turn into India's largest population conglomeration. East India Company of England set up a trading centre on these islands and later made it the capital city of the Bombay Presidency. Enterprising trading and business communities of Parsis, Kutchis and Gujaratis played a leading role in setting textile mills, development of water power and laying roads and railways across the Western Ghats, connecting it with its hinterland. Unexpectedly, the Suez International Navigation Canal made Mumbai the nearest Indian port to Europe. Availability of educated youth from Mumbai and Pune and inexpensive and disciplined labour from Konkan also contributed to the rapid population growth. The discovery of Bombay high oil and natural gas fields gave boost to its petrochemical industry. Today, Mumbai is known as commercial capital of India, backed by international and domestic airports, major seaports and national road and rail terminals. Similar is the case with other cities like Kolkata and Chennai, which were established by the colonial rulers. Availability of natural resources. The Chotanagpur Plateau region has all along been a rocky and rugged terrain. This rainy and forested region has been a home of several tribes and was one of the sparsely populated parts of the country. However, a string of industrial towns and centers have sprung up over the past century soon after rich minerals such as iron ore, manganese, limestone, coal, etc. were found in unusual abundance and close to one another. The rich coal and iron fields have attracted heavy industries, particularly iron and steel, heavy engineering, metallurgy, and transport equipment industries. The region has also important superpower thermal stations from where power is supplied to far off areas. After liberalization, many multinationals as well as national companies have been established their industries in large numbers. To analyze the population density at state level. On the basis of availability of state level data, the density of population in India can be broadly divided into three zones: the areas of high density, the areas of moderate density, and the areas of low density. Areas of high density. The areas having a density of population of more than 400 persons per square kilometer are included in the area of high density. These areas have a high density due to fertile land and high amount of precipitation. Example, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. In these regions, a larger number of people can be provided sustenance per unit of area due to availability of fertile land, which can produce more food for a large number of people. But the situation is entirely different in the case of union territories like Delhi, Chandigarh and Puducherry. These regions are highly urbanized and offer job opportunities in industrial and service sectors. Thus, we can say that the areas having fertile soil and those having good employment opportunities are densely populated. The areas of high density include the states of West Bengal, Kerala, Bihar, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh and Haryana, and union territories of Delhi, Chandigarh, Lakshadweep, Puducherry and Daman and Diu. All these areas provide good scope for earning a livelihood through either agriculture or through jobs in various types of secondary and tertiary activities. Areas of moderate density. States and union territories in which the density of population ranges between 100 and 400 persons per square kilometer are called areas of moderate density of population. They are Andhra Pradesh, Assam, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Goa, Gujarat, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Odisha, Rajasthan, Tripura, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Jammu and Kashmir, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur and Meghalaya. Broadly speaking, moderate density of population is characterized by the areas in which the agriculture is handicapped by rugged topography, lower amount of precipitation and paucity of water for irrigation. The scope for developing primary and secondary activities is quite large if the facilities are provided in this area. For example, at the time of independence, Chota Nagpur region was a sparsely populated area, but development in the field of mining and industries in this part of the country has been mainly responsible for moderate density of population in this region. Areas of low density. All the remaining parts of India having a density of population less than 100 persons per square kilometer may be classified under this category. The states and union territories falling under this category include Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Sikkim and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Low density population areas are characterized by rough terrain, low rainfall or unhealthy climate. Due to the above reasons, the prospects of earning livelihood is low in these areas. Agriculture cannot be developed in too dry or cold areas. Uneven topography and poor agricultural resources put a limit on urbanization and industrialization. Therefore, the number of persons that can be supported per unit area is low in such regions. Difficulties exist not only in transport and communication in the hilly and mountainous areas, but also in the overall levels of economic development. That is why the density of population in all these areas is low. The areas of low density of population in India include Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Sikkim, and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. These areas suffer from either low rainfall or rough terrain or harsh climatic conditions or a combination of these factors. Growth of population. The growth of population in a region depends upon fertility, motility, and migration. Fertility or the birth rate is measured in terms of total number of live births per 1000 population per year. Generally, the fertility rate is affected by various social, economic, and demographic factors. Motility or the death rate is measured in terms of total number of deaths per 1000 population per year. The difference between these two rates is called the natural growth rate. The term migration refers to the movement of people from one area to the other or from one country to another. The rate of migration affects the growth of population of a region by increasing or decreasing the number of people living there. The growth rate of population may be positive or negative. A positive growth rate of population means an increase in the number of people living in a region, whereas negative growth rate means declining population. A positive growth rate occurs when the number of births and in-migration exceeds the number of deaths and out-migration. The negative growth rate means just opposite to positive growth rate. The actual growth rate of population is not uniform in all parts of the country. The rate is higher in some parts than in others. If we look at interstate differences, then it has been observed that Kerala has the lowest growth rate, that is 9.42%, whereas the state of Nagaland has the highest growth rate of 64.41%. The broad state level pattern which emerges reflect that there is a clear-cut north-south divide. All the northern and northeastern states have recorded high growth rates, whereas all the southern states have low growth rates. This is mainly due to differences in the level of socio-economic development, which include high literacy rates, better primary healthcare facilities, more urban population, more development of economy, etc. Migration and the factors affecting migration. The growth of population depends upon the birth rate, death rate, and migration. Movement of people from one area to another area is called migration. Migration can be of a number of types. According to the nature of movement, this can be divided into permanent and temporary migration. Permanent migration involves movement of people from one place to the other, and these people do not go back to their original place. A common example of this type of migration is provided by the movement of the people from rural to urban areas for permanent settlement. In case of temporary migration, the people move from one place to the other for some duration and then return to their original place of living. An example of this movement is seasonal migration. Migration of agricultural labourers from Bihar to Punjab and Haryana during the harvesting season is a temporary migration. Migration can be on daily basis also. You might have observed that a large number of people commute to the cities every day in the morning from the surrounding areas to work, and they all go back in the evening. This is called daily or diurnal migration. It is seen in mountainous regions that many people move from valleys to the higher reaches of mountains along with their cattle during summer and come back to the valleys during the winter. These people have their permanent homes in the valleys and they move to the higher areas to graze their cattle. When the higher reaches of the mountains become too cold, they come back to the lower valleys. Their annual movement is always along some fixed routes and generally their grazing areas are also fixed. This type of attitudinal migration is called transhumanes. Gaddi tribes of Himachal Pradesh and Bakarwals in Jammu and Kashmir practices this type of migration. On the basis of source of origin and destination of migrant, population migration can be divided into 4 types: rural to rural, rural to urban, urban to urban, urban to rural. Out of the 1.21 billion people in the country, approximately 30% were reported as migrants by place of birth. Migrants by place of birth are those who are enumerated at a village or town at the time of census other than their place of birth. This proportion, if we look at their movement patterns, it has been observed that Maharashtra received largest number of migrants, around 7.9 million, followed by Delhi at 5.6 million and West Bengal at 5.5 million. On the other hand, Uttar Pradesh, followed by Bihar and Rajasthan, are the 3 top contributors of out migrants. But if we look at the net migration, that is, the differences between in migrants and out migrants, Maharashtra stands at the top of the list with 2.3 million net migration, followed by Delhi, Gujarat and Haryana. Migration is a result of an interplay of a large number of factors. Generally, factors affecting migration can be grouped into 2 categories of push and pull factors. The push factors are responsible for making people move from their original place of living. The pull factors are responsible for attracting people to some particular areas. Unless both these factors are operating simultaneously, no migration of people can be possible. The push and pull factors include the economic, social, and political components. A brief description of these factors is given below. Economic factors. The people generally like to live in those areas where they can make their livelihood. Thus, they would like to move away from areas of poor soils, less developed means of transport, low levels of industrialization, and less job opportunities. These are the push factors. On the other hand, the areas offering good employment, better living standard attract large number of people. These are the pull factors. Thus, all areas of fertile soil, deposits of minerals, better means of transportation and communication, and higher levels of development of industries and urban areas provide more means of making a living. You might have observed that a large number of people move to the cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata and Chennai from neighboring and different parts of the country like Bihar, Odisha, Uttar Pradesh, where opportunities are less. The most important factor for which they move is the expected improvement in their economic conditions. Many are attracted by an apparent glare of city life with all its modern comforts and attractions. Socio-political factor. Generally, the people having a common religion or language or social customs like to live together. On the other hand, a person would like to migrate to some other place if he is living among the people belonging to some other culture or customs. Many people migrate to places of religious importance. Migration of people to places like Badrinath, Tirupati and Varanasi, though generally temporary, is due to religious factors. The impact of the social factors is more clearly seen in the concentration of people belonging to a particular community in one locality of urban area or in a particular city. India is the second most populous country of the world after China. The distribution of population is generally studied in terms of density. The density of population in India is not uniform. On the basis of density of population, India can be divided into three broad regions of high density, the areas of moderate density and the areas of low density. The growth rate of population is determined by the birth rate, death rate and migration of an area. Like density and distribution, the growth rate is also not uniform throughout the country. Migration is an important factor for the growth rate of population. Migration can be divided into various types. It can be divided as permanent and temporary. On the basis of source of origin and destination of migrant population, it can be divided into rural to rural, rural to urban, urban to urban and urban to rural. These four types can be grouped under two categories, that is, interstate migration and intrastate migration. People move from one place to another under the influence of economic, social, political and demographic factors. The cause of migration can also be studied in terms of push and pull factors. The consequences of migrations are numerous and they can be studied in terms of economic, social and demographic consequences.